Hello and welcome to Season 3 of the Adam Jones Podcast presented by the Baltimore Banner. We're back. I'm Jerry Coleman. He's the five-time MLB All-Star Adam Jones, reluctantly working with me for a third season, but we blackmailed him and here he is. Today in episode number 58, AJ, as we begin again, Season 3, we're going to be joined by the governor of the great state of Maryland, Wes Moore. He's a friend of yours, an acquaintance of mine, and we'll have a lot to get to with the Gov. Our second to last podcast, by the way, was with DL Hall. He's now a former Oriole. And in our For the Bird segment, Adam and I will discuss the big acquisition by the Orioles a day after new ownership came aboard. You've been talking about Corbin Burnes for a long time, and it's finally come to fruition. In addition, we'll explain what we've been up to since our last podcast last October. That comes during our Baltimore and Beyond segment. All right, let's bring in our first guest here of season number 3, sponsored by Jimmy's Famous Seafood, where he was seen tailgating before the AFC Championship. He is the governor of the great state of Maryland, an avid listener of our podcast, or so we were told. We'll just have to take his word for it. He is Wes Moore. Governor, thanks for taking the time and being here.
I am, man. I'm a fan. This is big for me. For me. Good to see y'all.
We're excited to have you. And real quickly, I did mention Jimmy's Famous Seafood, and we saw you at the tailgate. We saw you shotgunning those beers. Everyone could see it on YouTube. How did you feel during that game? Obviously, it didn't go the way we wanted, and I think Jimmy's is waiting for you to show up at their opening day celebration as well with a better outcome.
I'll be there too. But you know what's crazy? We were tailgating for like hours, and I was just out there, hanging out, and so I was a bunch of beers in at that point, and I had no idea that someone was filming. And then I had the shotgun with the governor. Yo, go! We got a shotgun.
Let's do this thing.
We do this for the best team this planet has ever created, the Baltimore Ravens.
There you go.
Taylor out.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Well, it's on the internet.
Well, but it's funny because it goes how fast these things move, because by the time we get to the stadium, I'm there with Carter, and Carter's like, Gov, you're trending. I was like, for what now? And he showed me the video, and that's how fast this stuff moves. But we were just out there hanging out and having fun. So,
I want to know, like, how awesome is it to be able to do that, though? Like, I know most governors, you're the president of the state. Like, your position's high. You're a very important person. Most people don't do that. How awesome is it that you can do that with the Ravens fans? And I'm sure other politicians have probably done it, but you're not doing it the way you're doing it in Maryland. Like, that is cool. Like, on so many different levels.
It's cool, man, because honestly, listen, I remember, I am who I am. You know what I mean? Like, we go out here, we have a good time. I don't come from a political background. I don't come from a political family. I don't and the thing I've always remembered in all this stuff, man, is you got to be you. And because that's the thing that got us here in the first place. I wasn't the pick of a political party. I wasn't I got in this place because the people put me there. And they put me there because I was who I was the whole time through. And it's funny, I remember early in the campaign, there was a big campaign event, and all the people that are running for governor was there. And they're all wearing like ties and suits and all that kind of stuff. And it was like 95 degrees outside. And I showed up in shorts and a polo. And people were like, oh, you trying to make a statement? I was like, no, it's just really hot. And I'm not wearing a suit and tie because it's really hot outside. And I remember the Speaker of the House called me up that night. And she said, have you heard the brouhaha about your attire today? And I said, yes, ma'am, I have. And she said, I just have one piece of advice for you. She said, don't spend a second trying to be like them. Make them try to be like you. Because if you do that, you actually have a shot at winning this thing. And that's just how we just continued. I'm not going to spend a second trying to be a suit or try to be something that I'm not. And so, if I'm out tailgating, I'm gonna have a beer because that's who I am. And it's not going to change.
That's what you do.
We don't require our guests to wear ties, but we appreciate the gesture. All right. Let's get down to some business here. The Orioles have been sold in late January, as you're well aware, but the reports are you were caught off guard by all this because a deal had been made prior to the sale. your reaction to it all, and is it accurate that you were sort of thrown for a loop there and not realizing that this was going on behind the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, the conversations that were taking place about the sale, they were not happening where I was being made aware of, or anyone in the state was being made aware of. And there's two things that I know, right? One is we did deserve more transparency. We deserved more honesty about what was taking place. But the second thing that I know is this: I'm damn glad we signed the deal that we did. Because the whole point of the deal, I mean, there were three things that I said have to happen when we started working on this deal. When I first came on board, there were no conversations between the team and the state. They had stopped. They had broken down. And so the only thing we knew is that the Orioles had less than a year left on that lease. And then they can go anywhere. These are private, people forget, these are private entities. They can move wherever they want to move. And so as we started negotiations when I first took over, three things that I focused on. One, that we have to make sure we're good stewards of taxpayer dollars. Two, we have to make sure there's winners on and off the field. You can have a great ball club, but if you have a great ball club in the middle of a dying city, then what's the point? What have you just accomplished? And the third thing was, I'm not doing a short-term deal. Because every single year in years past, when the deal got tough and when negotiations got difficult, everyone just said, all right, let's just do a one-year deal. Let's just do a one-year deal. And I was like, I'm not doing a damn one-year deal. Long-term deals or nothing, because you need predictability. And so the fact that we signed a deal, a long-term deal, 30-year deal, is going to have the Orioles here for decades to come. And by the way, with a no relocation clause. So no matter who the owner is, no matter who the ownership group is, they're the Baltimore Orioles. They will never be the Nashville Orioles. They will never be the Toledo Orioles. They're the Baltimore Orioles. And so I'm really, really proud that the deal that we ended up solidifying with them, that no matter who the owner was. So when I heard the owner was changing, I was like, great, fantastic. We'll just have Baltimore, we'll just have Oriole baseball winning World Series, no matter who the ownership group is. So I was happy because I felt like the deal that we crafted, that there was a reason why we did it, and this showed itself.
Well, I don't want you to get into the grave details of a deal like this, but what goes into it? Like layman's terms, you're talking 30 years. That is a long time. That's going to outlive a lot of people. Yeah. If you're in office still doing political stuff in 30 years.
I will not be in office.
But like, what goes into it for the fans that don't know? Like, we're just like, we want the Orioles here. We don't want them to leave. There's a lot more factors that go into it than just that.
A lot. And what's really wild, AJ, is that just take a look at what happened in Oakland. When you had a team who just decided to pick up and leave. Now you have two holes in the middle of the city. What happened? Look at what happens. It happens in DC right now, right? Where you have the Caps and the Wiz and the Wizards who are going through this battle between Washington, DC and Virginia, which, by the way, let me make a point about that. Glenn Youngkin gets up there and has this big old press conference signing an MOU, and people are cheering and all this kind of stuff. And then the deal completely falls apart. So the difference between our deal and what happened with Virginia and Glenn Youngkin was I actually closed the deal. He wasn't able to, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing is that's really important to remember about it is to your point, if you do not lock private entities in, if you do not lock these organizations in, they have the option and they can shop. And that's what we saw in Oakland. That's what we saw, and that's what's happening in DC right now with the Capitals and the Wizards. I hate to say this, but that's what happened with the Mayflower trucks. Yeah. Right? In the middle of the night.
Taking it back.
In the middle of the night. That's what happened. And people can scream all they want. These are private entities. So you have to lock them in. And especially when you are investing in Baltimore the way that we're investing in Baltimore. I believe in this city. I believe Baltimore is about to have the next biggest renaissance in the entire country as a city. But I know to do that, you got to have anchors, right? You got to have anchors that everything else can then build off of. And the Orioles and the Ravens are very big anchors for us to do what it is that we're hoping to accomplish in the long term for Baltimore and beyond.
So with new ownership coming in, how does those conversations go? Like, do they reach out to you? Do your people reach out to them? And because, again, I don't even know how that even works because again, you say a private entity, but they can't just come to the state and do all these things without consulting with state officials. Like you just can't do that. So how does have you spoken to the new ownership groups, and how does those conversations, how they've been? Hopefully they've been good, because a lot of people are excited. A lot of people are excited.
I'm excited. I'm excited. So yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of very good conversations with David Rubenstein, and then also, I mean, I remember I've known him for years before as well. In fact, I've known him longer than I've knew John Angelos or the Angelos family. So I'm thrilled, because this is an ownership group that I think is there's a few things that I think are going to be really important, right? One is this an ownership group that believes in Baltimore and is willing to invest in not just a ball club, but actually really think about what does it mean to create a new renaissance for the state's largest city. This is an ownership group that believes in partnership and believes in actually working together to get this stuff done. And this is an ownership group who believes investing in the team. I mean, when you look at the fact that we have some of the best young talent in all of baseball, I mean, it's our starting lineup is silly. It's like a video game, right? It is. I mean, when you're thinking about all the young talent that's there and locked in, and the ability to now, I mean, we have one of the best pitching rotations in baseball right now. I mean, you're talking about adding Burns onto a rotation that includes G-Rod, and I mean, this is unbelievable, actually, what's happening right now with the Orioles. But here's the point: we also have an ownership group who's going to make sure that these players don't go anywhere, that top talent stays in Baltimore and top talent comes to Baltimore. That is a winning mentality that I think is getting everybody very, very excited about what we're hoping to accomplish for the long term.
We'll continue our conversation with Maryland Governor Wes Moore here on the Adam Jones podcast. But first, let's hear and salute our loyal and dedicated sponsors, both old and new.
The Adam Jones podcast is brought to you by our friends at the Weinman Company.
Your fun awaits at Hollywood Casino Perryville. Feed the whole crew with something for everyone, from cheesesteaks to crab cake sandwiches. Plus, ask how you can get a $15 dining credit. Get in on the gaming action with the hottest slots and your favorite table games like blackjack, roulette, and poker. Free live shows every Friday and Saturday. Come experience nonstop fun and excitement only at Hollywood Casino Perryville.
The Adam Jones podcast is brought to you by Jimmy's Famous Seafood, Charm City's favorite crab cake destination. Local sports fan? Experience the ultimate pregame party at the tailgate. Cheer on the Ravens with iconic live performances, an open bar, and mouth-watering eats. Can't make it? No worries. Bring the same food that caught the attention of the Food Network right to your doorstep. Shipping East Coast recipes nationwide. Jimmy's Famous Seafood is the official sponsor of the guests appearing on the Adam Jones podcast.
Play the Maryland Lottery, because fun looks good on you. Right now, play our exciting new multiplier scratch-offs for a chance to win up to $2 million. Come and get your fun.
Come and get your fun. If you received ERC funds, listen closely. The IRS has 10 years to audit your claim, but you only have until March 22nd to get taxpayer relief, and the clock is ticking. If you're losing sleep over a possible audit, we'll review your claim. If you made a filing error, we'll set things right. If you're being audited, we'll provide expert representation. The IRS Voluntary Disclosure Program ends March 22nd. You deserve peace of mind. Visit SaveMyERC.com to schedule a consultation today. That's SaveMyERC.com. By Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction, like leak investigation, framing, trim carpentry, insulation, drywall, painting, wallpaper, flooring, masonry, waterproofing, paving, tree removal, and much more. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time. There are a lot of ways to make whiskey, but there's only one way to make Jack Daniels. At Jack Daniels, they charcoal mellow every drop, only using water from Cave Spring Hollow in Tennessee. When you make your own label, you make everything else yours too. But we don't need to tell you that, do we? Make it count. Jack Daniels. Please drink responsibly. Tennessee whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume. Jack Daniel Distillery, Lynchburg, Tennessee. Jack Daniels and Old Number 7 are registered trademarks. 2022. Jack Daniels. All rights reserved. Everyone knows Greenmount Station in Hampstead, but did you know that at Greenmount Station you can bet 7 days a week just like you're at the track? With in-person teller windows and state-of-the-art touchscreen kiosks. And with with Greenmount Station's brand new Bet Park Sportsbook, you can bet on all other sports as well, wherever you are in Maryland. Spreads, money lines, live bets, props, parlays, and teasers. The Bet Parks Maryland mobile app is now live for Apple and Android devices, so you'll never miss your next big score. Just search for Bet Parks MD in the Apple App Store or on Google Play. And for a limited time, 21 and over Adam Jones podcast listeners can get a $75 gift card to Greenmount Station simply for opening a new account with promo code GMS and a minimum $50 initial deposit. $75 gift card for new users in Maryland only. 21 and over only. Please play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hey, you work hard, I work hard, and we all like to save money. That's why we need the Royal Farms ROFO Rewards app to get more value for our hard-earned money. With the app, you earn royalty points on every purchase, can place mobile orders for quick pickup, plus a discount at the gas pump with ROFO Pay. We all like to save money, and with the ROFO Rewards app, we do.
Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The Adam Jones podcast resumes with our exclusive conversation with Governor Wes Moore. I did want to ask you about that video board announcement, which some people now mock because it went down in September. You were sitting there in the skybox with John Angelos. They made this announcement that the lease was done, and it wasn't done. So I guess I'll ask you the same question I asked you before. Did that catch you off guard?
No, it didn't catch me off guard because I think that without the MOU, the deal wouldn't have gotten done, right? And I think it was really important to remember what that night represented. Up until that point, every conversation with the Orioles was about one-year deals, right? And I said from Jump Street, I'm not doing a one-year deal. And so what that night represented, it was the first time publicly and in writing that the Orioles said, we're here for 30. Like that was a big deal because they had not heard the Orioles say that before. It was constantly this game of cat and mouse where the state kept on losing. And I was like, we ain't losing. And so that's really what the MOU represented, right? Now the MOU, and one thing that maybe I should have been clear on was the MOU is not the completion of a deal. The MOU means these are the guidelines for what it is we're working to accomplish. We still have work to do, but these are the guidelines. But that was the first time publicly that you had the state and the team saying we're aligned. And it's 30 years. It's not a one-year deal. It's not a continuation. It's not an extension. That we are officially marrying publicly. And also the thing is, again, you see that it takes work after MOU. In Virginia, they signed an MOU with the Wizards and the Capitals that they're going to Virginia. And look at what just happened a couple days ago. The Virginia State Legislature said, no, they're not. And they killed the deal, right? And so we, without that MOU in Maryland, we never would have gotten to a signing. But that was an important moment to let the people know, of the people of the state and the people of the city and all of Birdland, let everybody know that for the first time, the Orioles were saying publicly, we're here for 30 and we're putting it in writing. So it was a really big deal. Maybe I wish I would let folks know that that's not the end, y'all. We still got some more work to do, but we were very proud of what we were able to accomplish.
And that's monumental. And from an Oriole alum to, obviously to all of Birdland, it's appreciative because people were so thinking that, oh man, the Orioles going to leave. And that's a bad feeling. You don't want that. I'm from San Diego. My team left.
That's right. That's
Chargers
right.
left.
That's right.
I know what it feels like. It sucks. You don't want your team to leave. You don't want a franchise to leave. And so I'm pivoting to that is, what about adding a franchise? Adding an NBA franchise? What would that entail? Why can't Baltimore do it? Could they do it? Because the DMV is rich in basketball. Let's just be honest with ourselves.
You got to talk to Ted Leonsis about that.
I respect the DMV when it comes to basketball. And Baltimore, I know the arena, maybe the G League, something.
AJ, I like how you work, man. I like how you work because it's right. When you think about basketball, or the other one is you think about soccer, like the growth of soccer that we're seeing around. We should be thinking hard and long about what does it mean to create these attractions that can not only generate a sense of pride in the area, but then also generate a real sense of revenue and momentum for people to want to come on board. And so whether it is basketball, whether it is soccer, whether it is making sure that we're locking in things for horse racing, it's a reason why, again, still more work to do, but we're really excited about the momentum we continue to see around Pimlico and around the Preakness and what that's going to mean, not just for horse racing, but then what's also going to mean for the entire area all around it. And so this is a time, man, and I love how you're talking, AJ, because we've got to think big. It's very frustrating where sometimes we get ourselves in this mindset like we can't win. Like, we're Maryland, we win. This is what we do. But we've got to get ourselves in a mindset where we can actually go after big stuff together. Because if we can do that and we can find the right kind of partnerships to get this thing complete, we win big. We can get the Orioles to lock in for 30 years. We can get the FBI building to come to the state of Maryland, which is going to be the GSA's biggest project ever. That thing's going to be worth over 7,500 jobs, worth over $4 billion of economic activity, and we got it. No one else did, right? So we've got to be able to think big as a state, because if we can do that, I'm telling you, this is our moment, but we've got to get out of our own way.
And as a adopted Marylander, I won't tell many people. I can't help out California. I can help out Maryland. These are all great things. You know what I mean? I want to, again, being there for so long, like making all these relationships, I want to see everybody succeed. Like this offseason or this year with the Ravens and the Orioles playing terrific ball, the city is back. The people are back downtown and at restaurants. And when I was there, I went out to dinner and went out to bars, and it is live. The city is back live. And again, as an adopted Marylander, it's rewarding to see all these businesses thriving.
Man, we're proud to have you as an adopted Marylander. Man, we'll claim you all day long. But and it's true. But think about what's all this happened, right? In addition to things like the Ravens and the Orioles, what else has happened? Baltimore now has the 7th fastest growing economy in the entire country. What else has happened? Homicide rates. We've watched Baltimore is now having the lowest homicide rates that it has had in 9 years. Right now in the city of Baltimore, we're investing in everything from the convention center to the promenade in the Inner Harbor to housing. We got a huge housing package that's taking place. Like, Baltimore is on the move. And the thing is, you cannot have a thriving state if the state's largest city is not thriving. And people say, yeah, of course you say that because you're a Baltimorean and you're a homer. No, I don't say that because I'm a Baltimorean. I say that because I'm good at math. It's simple math. It's the state's largest city. And tell me a single state in the country that is clicking on all cylinders when the state's largest city is not. It doesn't work. And so we've got to make sure we're investing in Baltimore. And yes, that includes the Ravens and the Orioles, but it also makes sure that the quality of life, that is public safety, that is housing, that is health. We do that in Baltimore, man. I'm telling you, there's nothing that stops the state of Maryland at that point.
Governor, I do want to ask you about this concept that you guys agreed to before the Orioles were sold about selling the naming rights to Oriole Park at Camden Yards. It's something I thought that would never happen. Now it is a possibility. There was a rumor or report that T. Rowe Price may have been interested but backed out. Do you think it's going to occur that Camden Yards will have a commercial name to it at some point?
I don't, but I think about when we go to where the Ravens are playing. That's M&T Bank Stadium, and I think for most people, they it's the bank or it's Ravens Stadium. So I don't I think the team has those rights for a while. I don't ever see that changing. But even if I do, I know that that's still going to be Birdland no matter what. So
facts.
I don't think about
it. Facts.
Really.
I wanted to ask you a sports question. You grew up in sports. I mean, Baltimore, that is a sports-enriched city, state, obviously Maryland, DMV. Who were your sports heroes growing up? You were 8 years older than I am. I mean, we're just an older generation. Who are your sports heroes? Because, you got to see Mike. You got to see, some older guys that I didn't get to see that, I'm kind of jealous of.
Admit you were a kid. You grew up watching Adam Jones play as a kid.
I'm about to say, listen, I'm rapping one of them right now. I'm rapping with one of them right now.
Feel old, AJ?
No, a little bit.
No, but I mean, and it's wild because I was always attracted to people who had a persona that was larger than life than on the field. And I am gonna say this about you, AJ. I mean, one of the things that I love about you is not only were you a superstar on the field, but you made an entire community feel seen and feel welcomed. And that was really special because it's bigger than sports at that point. You know, I think about when I get a chance to, you know, when I was a huge fan, for example, in basketball, I was a huge fan of Allen Iverson, right?
Yeah.
Because this was a dude, not only was he like, you couldn't stay in front of him. He was just quicker than everybody else on the field. You had to develop entire defenses about how can you just try to stay in front of Allen Iverson, which was impossible. But the energy and the aggression that he brought to every game, when you talk about leading on the field, that was AI. You know, I think the same thing about Ray Lewis in football. You know, this was a dude who just he thought different. And it was impossible to be on a Ray Lewis team and slack. He wouldn't let you. You weren't permitted. And I love that. I love the players. I've always been attracted to the players who, the ones who were dominant on the field. And the ones who, you know, who were skilled at what they did. But I've always been attracted to the people whose personalities were bigger than the sport and were bigger than the team, and who understood they got everybody on the same sheet of music because you just never wanted to disappoint them in the work that you were doing. And so it's you and it's players like that I think always gave me life.
Governor, the last thing, yeah. Governor, that was a big boom. I'll tell you what, that set off a boom around Baltimore with that comment. I did want to ask you one last thing regarding sports and gambling, because it seems like we went from 0 to 60. It used to be, okay, you'd have to find the bookie on the corner and make a deal with him. Not that I ever did that. Now it's legal throughout the state of Maryland. What do you envision the future of sports wagering being in this state, and how much money has it brought into the coffers?
You know, it's brought in capital, and I think you see what's happening both with the casinos and what's happening in person, and now there's a whole lot being debated right now in terms of iGaming and legislation and what's coming up even in this legislative session. I am all for finding things and ways that can increase capital into the state. I'm hungry that this state wins, and I don't like when this state loses, and I want to make sure that everything that we can do to generate more revenue is being utilized. And at the same time, I want to make sure that it's being done smartly. I want to make sure that we're not creating predatory relationships between ourselves and the people who we're serving. I want to make sure the people who are most vulnerable in these kind of situations, that there are the supports in place to make sure that they are not being targeted in all this. And so I'm all for the exploration, because we have to find different ways of getting our economy going, of bringing in revenue into the state, but it cannot be predatory. And that's the thing that I think we got to find, whatever that right balance is and what that's going to look like.
Will the First Lady of Maryland allow you to run for president in the next election? Because not this one, but the 28, because damn it, you're making me believe. Everything you're talking about, you're making me believe. You know what I mean? Just wondering, I mean, do you have aspirations still? I mean, there's a lot of things that I know you want to tackle here in the state of Maryland. But for future aspirations, you're still young, look good, you got energy, you're in shape. It's what we need. Do you have future aspirations to run for the highest office in the country?
Let me tell you, she's not gonna let me go out there and tailgate anymore after she saw that video. She's like, what the hell are you doing? No, man, listen, I'm honestly, I'm good. I mean, and I tell people, and this is real. I feel like I'm playing with house money right now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the most improbable governor in this country, where I'm a kid who I was raised by an immigrant single mom who didn't get her first job until I was 14 years old. You know, and this is a woman who went on to earn a master's degree and didn't get her first job. They gave her benefits until I was 14. I was a kid who had handcuffs on my wrist by the time I was 11. You know, I was sent away to military school when I was 13. I joined the Army when I was 17 years old. I couldn't even sign the paperwork. My mother had to sign the paperwork for me, right? And I think about a person, I'm never a person who ran for office ever before in my life. You know, true story. I had to convince members of my family to vote for me. And it's
Oh my!
and it's not because my family aren't like, we're cool. That's not the issue. The problem is there are members of my family who never voted.
Ooh.
Like, I don't come from that type of background. And so for me now to be the 63rd governor of the state of Maryland, first African American, and only the third African American governor elected in the history of this country. Like, I'm so good. Like, I wake up every morning and feel like I'm living my dream. I'm working on issues I care about. We built a remarkable team. You're able to get things done, whether it's by a budget or by executive orders or by laws being passed on things that I have spent my whole lifetime working on. So I don't have an aspiration besides making sure that every single day, I'm going to make it matter that I was in this seat. Every single day, and I know because I actually have a clock that sits right there. I have 1,071 days left in my first term, and I'm gonna run it back, go for a second term. But I have 1,071 days back for my first term. The reason I keep a clock right there on my desk is because I'm gonna make sure every day matters. Not a single day is going to be wasted. And if you're spending time thinking about what you want to do next, you're wasting time, and I'm not wasting any time.
Well, you haven't wasted our time. It's been very valuable and a privilege to have you on. We thank you for being our opening guest of season 3. And let's not wait 1,000 days for you to come back and join us again.
I promise I won't.
Time for our For the Bird segment. It's brought to you by our friends over at the Maryland Lottery. Hey, when you play the Maryland Lottery, set limits. Never play when you're stressed and know your odds of winning. To learn more, visit mdlottery.com/play responsibly. Must be 18 years or older to play, so we both qualify, Adam. And, the Orioles, just one day after the announcement of the sale of the franchise, made one of the more significant trades I can remember in team history, pulling the trigger on a deal for Brewers ace Corbin Burns. Now, Mike Elias claimed in a conference call that it was coincidental that the deal was made the day after John Angelos and the Orioles decided to bring in partners and sell a portion of the franchise. Do you buy that? What's your reaction to the deal? Because I do have to reluctantly, again, use that word and give you credit. You've been banging the drum for Corbin Burns for over a year now.
I mean, I think it's been in the process. Again, I think Elias is correct by saying that it just happened to be the perfect timing with the ownership change and the ownership news. But no, I think it's been in the process. I mean, I wanted Corbin Burns in that uniform behind you because I think that he has the pedigree for that city. He's pitched in Milwaukee, which is a similar city in the division that is everybody looks at Chicago and St. Louis. And in the East, everybody looks at New York and Boston, unfortunately. So Burns has pitched in underdog situations. And if he goes to the Orioles, again, you're always going to be the underdog in that division because the New York Yankees, the Blue Jays, they all go out and spend all this crazy money. But that's just what they can do. So I think he's going to go there, put everybody back, slide everybody back down one slot in the rotation and just dominate. I mean, do what he does. But most importantly, I think what he is going to bring is a pedigree and a Cy Young attitude to a staff that has Cy Young potential, with Bradish finishing 4th last year in the Cy Young and other guys having really, really good years last year. So I just think he's going to add a respect factor, and he's going to add a no BS factor. I don't want to cuss, but he's going to add one of those factors.
What about the art of the deal, Adam, in terms of what the Orioles had to give up? We mentioned DL Hall, Joey Ortiz, and a draft pick for an ace. I thought they got over on the Brewers. Others thought, well, let's see how it plays out. DL Hall could go on to be a superstar. And Joey Ortiz too.
Same. I think it all works out. You look at how it works. He's on a 1-year deal. That's the guy that they got, like same guy they got the previous year in the offseason with Gibson and Lyles, 12 and 14 like that respectively. So you get him in that. To me, I think DL Hall has a very, very bright future. We had him on the show and we talked to him, but even after the trade, I would text him, reach out to him and say, look, you didn't get traded for, a bag of peanuts and a player to be named later. You got traded for an ace. So you're going to have an opportunity to go out there and prove that, prove you're worth it, and go out there and do what you do best, pound that zone and use that off-speed pitch, but go out there and understand that you have an opportunity of a lifetime. I told him the exact moments that I got traded. I was with the Mariners. I love that organization. It's what I knew. Just like every person in every organization, they love that organization because it's all they know. But I got traded for Eric Bedard, an ace of a staff. He wasn't a Cy Young winner, but he was an ace. Second day of spring training, Dave Trimley comes to me and said, "Hey, it's your job to lose." Like, these are things that when you get traded for somebody of this caliber, you're going to get an opportunity. And I want him. I don't know Ortiz, but he's going to get an opportunity. I know that. And, whoever they draft, that's down the road. But I reached out to him and just said, you have an opportunity of a lifetime. Go out there to Arizona. And my best friend, Quentin Berry, is the first base coach. I was like, hey, man, help him out, get him acclimated to the organization. Obviously, it's weird when you go to another organization. You got to meet all brand new people. But he has a very, very good chance to do something special. And, I think the sky is really the limit for DL.
What about the deal in terms of the Orioles being sold? Is something we just talked with the governor about. Did it catch you by surprise?
Well, I think it did. I think it caught everybody by surprise. I mean, there's been so many things in the media about, if they sell, when Mr. Angelos has to pass, like just so many different narratives and whatever coming out. And I think this just solidifies what happens. And it's a salute to the Angelos for 30 years of ownership. That is something that's very hard to do in today's climate. First off, it's hard to be an owner, but no, It's just a salute to them. They've been awesome to me and my family and to many others. They've obviously some of the best people in the community, and, salute to them. And I just think that this new ownership and getting Burns, having a good year last year, feeding off that energy has just revitalized the city of Baltimore so crazily that, I know it was frustrating losing the AFC Championship game.
I was just going to say, does it take away the sting a little bit?
It does. It does, because a lot of people after that game were like, okay, you're all right, man, screw that, mad about it. Obviously, they're supposed to be mad. This is the Super Bowl year. This is their Super Bowl year. But after the game, you hear people just around like, okay, well, I can't wait for these O's to get back on the field. Like, that right there is where, the fan base is with you. And I just think new blood, new ownership, is going to hopefully come in there and, bring excitement. Obviously, everybody wants to say spend money. That's not it's
easy to say when it's not yours, right?
Of course, it's easy to spend other people's money. But I just hope that they just do something special. And again, bring something close to a championship or a championship to Baltimore. As, Rubenstein's from Baltimore. I think that, it's in his interest to bring a winner home.
And also, they maintain most of their, if not all of their top prospects. They still have the number one farm system in baseball.
100%. And that was a very good trade that they was able to pull off. And again, selfishly, go get Cease selfishly. But again, by getting Burns, you have moved up. And you just look at talk to all the experts. The Orioles right now have on paper a top 5 rotation in baseball. And that's something that we ain't talked about since Scott Erickson and Mussina, like that, Randy Myers, that kind of staff. So
we call that last century.
Yeah, that was the last century. So it's been a while since the Orioles have had this kind of, rotation. And again, we know when you have shut down pitchers, the offense will figure it out. So it's exciting. I can't wait to get down there and see and hear the pop of the glove. And I'm excited to just hear the interactions with Corbin and Adley and with McCann. Like, those are the conversations and that you want to hear. Him talking on the backfield. Again, Bradish and Kramer are known for throwing a very good slider.
Yep. What
does this guy have? Arguably the best one in baseball. So, just imagine the grips that these guys are going to learn, the tweaks. It's going to be, I think spring training is going to be very, very fun for a lot of guys. And, again, expectations are high. And
I know we all
have high expectations.
Yeah, I know you don't feel the same way, but I look forward to seeing you at spring training. We will be down there. The Adam Jones podcast does travel. And that brings us to Baltimore and beyond. And this sometimes is an international perspective, but we're just giving perspective today. So how did you spend your quote unquote off season? Full disclosure, the banner Adam and I decided to sit out during the months of December and January. So did you do anything interesting or fascinating?
Well, I mean, it was smart for us to sit out during those times. We're not football experts. You are. I mean, you are sports overall.
Nut.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that word, capitalize that, bold it, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, I know it. I enjoy it. I'm a fan more than I am anybody that can describe it. So it was smart for us to relax, and my wife took full advantage of it. We went to Maldives uninterrupted. That was great. I didn't have to hear or talk to you the whole time. Then we went to where did we go? Oh, over New Year's, we were in skiing in Zermatt. I wasn't skiing. I was praying. I think I set a record for Irish coffees consumed in a weekend or a week. That's my favorite drink. And just locally, we've just been local around here, around Europe, and it's just beautiful. But now it's time to get back to sports. There's a lot of things to talk about. And, it's going to be fun to be down in Florida for a couple of weeks to really see and feel and get the energy about what's going on in Orioles camp. So it's going to be hopefully exciting season 3.
Well, for me, I got a lot of tennis in. I could either tell you about my cruise or my colonoscopy or both. I don't know which you prefer. The colonoscopy, that was painless, except the day before. That was painful. The cruise was wonderful, though. I didn't bother you. You didn't bother me. Went to the Caribbean. It's a great spot to be. Made sure I drank and ate as much as I could on the cruise because it was all inclusive. I didn't pay for one meal on land. Everything was inhaled on water because that's what I paid for. And it was a wonderful thing. It was nice. As far as the colonoscopy, I would just say shout out to Lenny's Deli for the delicious chicken soup because that solves all my problems. But man, they got to come up with a better prep for these colonoscopies. We're now in 2024, something that tastes a little better, if you know what I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, hey, it's part of the process. Just imagine what they did 20 years ago, and imagine what they did 50 years ago, and imagine what they did 100 years ago. So just technology and medicine is getting better. Continue to be healthy. I probably need one myself.
Yep. They're telling me every 5 years, and you're not as old as me, but you're getting close. You're getting close.
Right. I'm catching up. So again, health is wealth.
Yep, indeed. All right, let's move on to our socially speaking segment. This is where we answer a tweet or social media post. You can find us on our social media platform. That's Twitter. That's known as X now. Also Facebook and Instagram at Adam Jones Pod, at Adam Jones Pod. Go out and subscribe and rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to follow us because they've redone that. Now, during our time off, we got a lot of comments on Apple Podcasts, but on Super Bowl Sunday, you posed a question to the world, and that was on X, and you got a heck of a response, more than 400 at last count. And it's
700 now.
Okay, it seemed to be very divisive, but it was 50-50 in terms of ratio from what I could gather. And the question was, what about Trevor Bauer becoming an Oriole, even on a minor league deal? And we got quite the response. He put it out there that he hasn't heard from anyone. And you posed the questions. And like I said, many folks fell on both sides, Adam.
Oh, 100%. I think it was 50-50. And, it's hard to say, well, who's right, who's wrong. If you're going on pitching talent, I think for the league minimum, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer for the league minimum. And he said that. Let me earn. If you don't like me, get rid of me. I don't care. With everything around it, surrounding this whole situation, that is why I think a lot of people might want to back off and stay away from it. I'm not the court of public opinion, the court of law. I just know what has been out there. Like that's all you can say is what's been out there and what's been, received and, heard. But it's again, do you take the chance on them? And that's a question for a GM. That's will fan bases have backlash? Will, again, I think that's the biggest number one thing. Will fan base have backlash? Will sponsors have backlash? That's the thing. And again, it's just really easy to just stay away from the whole thing. That's the easiest thing. It's like, no. But do you give him another shot?
I agree.
I just propose a question. Again, that's not saying, like, when I ever ask a question on Twitter, it's not necessarily directed solely towards Orioles fans. It's directed towards fans. Like, would you sign? I got fans that are Padres fans and Dodgers fans all over. Would you sign Trevor Bauer? That was the question. And,
anyone from Japan weigh in? I forgot to see.
Well, they signed. He was over there.
I know. That's what I'm saying. He was already there.
So it's like, it's just a question. And, a lot of people were obviously definitely, I would say 50-50. Some people went into grave detail on why, some people, why not. And some people went into grave detail on why.
Right. I'll read a pro and a con tweet. I'll read one from both sides, and you can watch it and see it if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're not, make sure you follow us on YouTube. Rocky at Rocky number 7 wrote in, I think any MLB team should try to sign him for the veteran minimum. If that's what you're asking, he wants to prove himself. Let him prove he's still got it.
And I mean, again, that's what I think would be fair. But again, it comes with read the negative tweet.
All right. Warren.
Read the why not.
Warren. Yeah. At SWD2 on X wrote, no, it's not about the money. It's about what your franchise brand stands for. Do you want to be associated with his past? Do you want to be on the hook for his future? Lots of people can throw baseballs without the other stuff he brings to the table. I say that's fair enough, except I don't believe he was ever convicted of anything.
Now, that's what the part is tricky. If something is out there, everybody's just, you did it. It is true. No matter what, I'm blaming you. That's just how it works. You know what I mean? That, unfortunately. So that's the tricky situation. And the last part is blasphemy. There's not many people that could throw the ball better than him. That's just
right. Yeah. Give me the list.
For the price. For $740,000. Give me the list of guys that could throw the ball better than Trevor Bauer. That list is.
Where's the risk? Is what I see. I don't see where the risk is. I think it's a long shot, but I don't see the risk.
The risk is, like what he said, is what I guess if he believes you sign a guy, that's what the whole organization stands for. So there's the fine line, and I see both sides, and I respect both sides of it.
Yeah, me too.
That's what I'm saying. But that's why I just proposed a question. It's like, I'm not a GM. I ain't got no skin in the game. But would you sign him? That's why you ask questions out in the world.
Right. Ask the Cleveland Browns ask the Browns what they went through with Deshaun Watson.
See?
Yep.
So, but if I don't know, if other people say that, okay, I've heard he was a bad teammate, or I heard he was this. First off, you heard. I mean, unless you're talking to like 40 of these 40 guys that are in his clubhouse, the trainers and all that stuff, shut up. Okay. You ain't heard nothing. Okay. And Clubby's known these days that it's zip anyway. So shut up about all that. But again, it's the risk. Is it risk over reward? For $740,000, he is better than almost everybody in baseball. For $740,000. Now you said for $10 million, are you talking different? He's still almost better.
That's a risk, yes.
But that's a risk, but he's still almost better than everybody at that price. But you know what I'm saying? So it's just the risk that the organization will want to take, and the fan bases is going to hear about it. That's why I like the answers. Like there's a ton of them. People say, "Why did you even bring this up?" Because I can, first off. But
right.
Social media.
You can't express your opinion.
Exactly. It's just a simple question. But it's just I want a temperament. And then I asked about JD Martinez, and then Ken Weinman wants to come in, and his brother texts me, "Hey man, Weinman said you don't follow him." So I gotta follow him. So it all turned into just a debacle. But no, I love the opinions because these are questions that needs to be asked. The guy is out there putting himself out there saying that, look, I will sign for the minimum, or you can, if you don't like anything that's going around, get rid of me. I don't care. He just wants to be in a uniform in the major leagues because his arm talent deserves that. The other part, that's up to a general manager who wants to take on that risk.
Listen, it was food for thought. You put it out on Super Sunday, and we got a great reaction. So we'll continue with that theme as we move forward here,
100%.
Socially speaking. We do want to thank our sponsors, both the old and the new. Please go out and support the following because they support us.
The Adam Jones Podcast is brought to you by our friends at the Weinman Company.
Your fun awaits at Hollywood Casino Perryville. Feed the whole crew with something for everyone, from cheesesteaks to crab cake sandwiches. Plus, ask how you can get a $15 dining credit. Get in on the gaming action with the hottest slots and your favorite table games like blackjack, roulette, and poker. Free live shows every Friday and Saturday. Come experience non-stop fun and excitement only at Hollywood Casino Perryville.
The Adam Jones Podcast is brought to you by Jimmy's Famous Seafood, Charm City's favorite crab cake destination. Local sports fan, experience the ultimate pregame party at the tailgate. Cheer on the Ravens with iconic live performances, an open bar, and mouth-watering eats. Can't make it? No worries. Bring the same food that caught the attention of the Food Network right to your doorstep. Shipping East Coast recipes nationwide. Jimmy's Famous Seafood is the official sponsor of the guests appearing on the Adam Jones Podcast.
Play the Maryland Lottery. Because fun looks good on you. Right now, play our exciting new multiplier scratch-offs for a chance to win up to $2 million.
If you received ERC funds, listen closely. The IRS has 10 years to audit your claim, but you only have until March 22nd to get taxpayer relief, and the clock is ticking. If you're losing sleep over a possible audit, we'll review your claim. If you made a filing error, we'll set things right. If you're being audited, we'll provide expert representation. The IRS Voluntary Disclosure Program ends March 22nd. You deserve peace of mind. Visit SaveMyERC.com to schedule a consultation today. That's SaveMyERC.com. By Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction, like leak investigation, framing, trim carpentry, insulation, drywall, painting, wallpaper, flooring, masonry, waterproofing, paving, tree removal, and much more. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time. There are a lot of ways to make whiskey, but there's only one way to make Jack Daniels. At Jack Daniels, they charcoal mellow every drop, only using water from Cave Spring Hollow in Tennessee. When you make your own label, you make everything else yours too. But we don't need to tell you that, do we? Make it count. Jack Daniels. Please drink responsibly. Tennessee whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume. Jack Daniel Distillery, Lynchburg, Tennessee. Jack Daniels and Old Number 7 are registered trademarks 2022. Jack Daniels, all rights reserved. Everyone knows Greenmount Station in Hampstead, but did you know that at Greenmount Station you can bet 7 days a week just like you're at the track? With in-person teller windows and state-of-the-art touchscreen kiosks. And with Greenmount Station's brand new Bet Park Sportsbook, you can bet on all other sports as well, wherever you are in Maryland. Spreads, money lines, live bets, props, parlays, and teasers. The Bet Parks Maryland mobile app is now live for Apple and Android devices, so you'll never miss your next big score. Just search for Bet Parks MD in the Apple App Store or on Google Play. And for a limited time, 21 and over Adam Jones podcast listeners can get a $75 gift card to Greenmount Station simply for opening a new account with promo code GMS and a minimum $50 initial deposit. $75 gift card for new users in Maryland only. 21 and over only. Please play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hey, you work hard, I work hard, and we all like to save money. That's why we need the Royal Farms ROFO Rewards app to get more value for our hard-earned money. With the app, you earn royalty points on every purchase, can place mobile orders for quick pickup, plus a discount at the gas pump with ROFO Pay. We all like to save money, and with the ROFO Rewards app, we do.
Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Hey, thanks to senior executive producer Chip Franklin. He's back for putting this episode together. Chip's back for another year, as I mentioned. He's also a year older and a lot angrier. Go out and subscribe. Chip had that queued up and ready to go. Until next time, be real, be kind, and make sure to be back for another episode of the Adam Jones Podcast. And we got a big name next week. Shh, it's a surprise, but you won't want to miss it.